Prairie Love by Simon Cross. Hannah Quinn stepped off the rattling stagecoach, her feet landing on the dusty soil of Sweetwater, a fledgling frontier town nestled between rolling plains and jagged mountains. The sun hung low, casting a golden hue over the wooden buildings and bustling streets. Sweetwater was no bustling city like St. Louis, but for Hannah, it was a place to start over, a chance to escape the rigid expectations of high society and forge her own path. Her pale blue dress, though modest, hinted at her Eastern origins and stood out amidst the rugged attire of the townsfolk. She clutched her carpetbag tightly, its contents holding all she had left in the world. As she surveyed the town, her gaze was drawn to a sign swinging gently in the breeze, Harper's Mercantile. Inside the shop, shelves brimmed with everything from sacks of flour to bolts of calico. A tall man with broad shoulders and a weathered face stood behind the counter, arranging tins of coffee. His dark eyes met hers, and he offered a warm, albeit curious, smile. "Afternoon, miss. What can I help you with?" he asked, his voice deep and steady. Hannah hesitated. "I'm looking for work. Do you know if anyone in town is hiring?" The man studied her for a moment. "Name's Jack Harper. I own this place. I could use an extra set of hands here, if you're willing to work hard." Relief flooded Hannah's chest. "I'm not afraid of hard work, Mr. Harper." Days turned into weeks, and Hannah found her rhythm at Harper's Mercantile. Jack was patient as she learned the ropes, and she admired his dedication to the business and the town. He had a way of treating customers that made them feel like family, and Hannah found herself inspired by his kindness. One evening, after the shop had closed, Jack invited her to sit on the porch. The two shared stories of their pasts, the orange-pink sunset painting the sky. "What brought you to Sweetwater?" Jack asked, leaning back in his chair. Hannah hesitated. "I wanted freedom. Back east, I was expected to marry a man I didn't love and spend my life hosting tea parties. That's not the life I wanted." Jack nodded thoughtfully. "Takes courage to walk away from what's expected of you." "And you?" she asked. "What keeps you here?" Jack's eyes grew distant. "This town gave me a fresh start after the war. Folks here are good people. They deserve a place they can rely on, and I aim to provide that." Hannah saw a flicker of pain in his expression, and she realized there was more to his story than he was letting on. One crisp autumn morning, Hannah was arranging a shipment of goods when Jack walked in, a bouquet of prairie roses in his hands. "These are for you," he said, his voice gruff but gentle. Hannah blinked in surprise. "For me? Why?" Jack shrugged. "You've been working hard, and I figured you might like them." She accepted the flowers, her cheeks warming. "They're beautiful. Thank you." The gesture marked a shift between them. Jack began seeking out moments to spend with Hannah, whether it was fixing a squeaky shelf together or sharing quiet conversations under the stars. Sweetwater was a small town, and it wasn't long before the townsfolk noticed. "You've got Harper smitten," teased Mary Granger, the local baker, as Hannah picked up a loaf of bread. Hannah laughed it off, but she couldn't deny the flutter in her chest whenever Jack was near. Life in Sweetwater wasn't without its challenges. The harsh winter brought biting winds and heavy snow, and the town faced shortages of supplies. Jack and Hannah worked tirelessly to keep the mercantile stocked, often riding out to nearby ranches and settlements to barter for goods. During one such trip, their wagon wheel broke, leaving them stranded miles from town. As Jack worked to repair it, Hannah built a fire to keep them warm. "I don't know how you managed to stay so calm," Hannah said, watching Jack's steady hands. "Years of practice," he replied, glancing at her with a grin. "Besides, I've got you here to keep me company." The warmth of the fire mirrored the warmth in her heart. By the time they returned to Sweetwater, the bond between them had deepened. Jack's quiet strength and steady presence became a source of comfort for Hannah, and she began to realize just how much he meant to her. Spring arrived, bringing with it the annual Sweetwater Barn Dance. The entire town gathered in the large barn at the edge of town, its rafters strung with lanterns and wildflowers. Hannah wore a simple dress of soft green, her hair tied back with a ribbon. Jack was waiting for her outside the barn, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "Care to dance, Miss Quinn?" he asked, offering his hand. Hannah smiled and took it. Inside, the music swelled, and they joined the other couples twirling across the floor. Jack wasn't the most graceful dancer, but his sincerity more than made up for it. Hannah laughed as he spun her, the world around them fading away. As the night wore on, Jack led her outside to a quiet spot beneath the stars. "Hannah," he began, his voice low. "I've grown to care for you a great deal. I don't know what the future holds, but I'd like to face it with you by my side." Hannah's heart swelled. "I'd like that too, Jack." Over the following months, Jack and Hannah worked together to expand the mercantile, their partnership growing stronger with each passing day. When Jack proposed beneath the prairie roses that summer, Hannah knew she had found the life she'd always dreamed of, a life filled with love, purpose, and the promise of adventure. Their wedding was a simple affair, attended by the townsfolk who had become their family. As they stood together, hand in hand, Hannah looked out over the rolling plains and knew she was home. The end.